Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here we are from group 9. We'll present about our material. It is affect and individual differences. There are 9 parts of this material. And the first is personality and second language learning. Personality can be conceived of as stable traits or qualities in a person as more dynamic modes that are related to the cognitive processing of emotions. Certain personality traits may favor interest in the study of a second language and increase the likelihood of success. In SLA research, trait personality models have been privileged so far, and there are 3 main such models, and their concomitant instruments have been used. The first model is Eysenck's model of personality, which is perhaps the best well-known and most traditional model. It focuses on temperament and is comprised of 3 traits: psychotism, extraversion, and neuroticism. And the second model is Myers and Briggs model of personality. In a telling reminder that affect and cognition are difficult to separate, this model of personality has a strong focus of cognitive style, or preferred ways of processing information. Myers and Briggs proposed 4 traits with 2 opposite poles that are extraversion and introversion. Second, feeling and thinking. Third, perceiving and judging. And the last is intuiting versus sensing. The last model is the 5-factor model of personality, or can be said FFM, or the Big Five. It is emerged out of converging empirical research during the 1990s and has become the dominant contemporary model of personality in psychology, in part because it has succeeded in combining well all preceding ones. There are 5 parts. First, emotionally stability, extraversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and the last is openness to experience. Openness to experience has emerged in recent research as a potentially important personality variable that may be auspicious for achieving high levels of success in second language learning. This personality trait may be related to lack of ethnocentrism, self-confidence, and creativity, among other qualities that may be important for second language learning. The second part is extraversion and speaking styles. Some personality traits are extraversion and speaking predisposition, concern for communication versus accuracy, appear to be related to speaking styles that are most directly measurable via fluency affects. SLA researcher Jean-Marc Thiewel and psychologist Adrian Fern Adrian Furnham joined forces to champion a revival of second language work on this variable, arguing for its importance at the crossroads between affect and cognition. They synthesized convincing evidence from first language studies showing that extraversion and speaking styles are related. And if extraversion were shown to be conducive to more self-confidence and less anxiety about using the second language, one would expect to find that extraverted people are better able to maintain higher degrees of fluency when speaking in a second language, even under stressful conditions. The next part is learner orientation to communication and accuracy. Hungarian researcher Judith Kormos, 1999, investigated whether differences in speaking predispositions toward communication or accuracy would be reflected in differences in self-production and particularly in self-correction moves. Rather than looking at extraversion or some other general personality trait, Kormos devised a questionnaire to get each speaker's concern for communicating their message either fluently or accurately and for avoiding mistakes.
Okay, here I'm Melinda Yusifa will continue the material. For the first is foreign language anxiety. Some individuals report experiencing intense feelings of apprehension, tension, and even fear when they think of foreign language. And high anxiety foreign language students exhibit many symptoms, but the most common ones are two. For the first is freezing up when asked to say something in the second language in front of the class, and blanking on the right answer during a language test despite having studied hard and even knowing the answers. And the best well-known measure of anxiety is the Foreign Language Classroom Anxiety Scale, or FLCAS, developed by Harvard and colleges. And recent studies prove that anxiety levels were associated to low sense of self-worth and low perception of their own general academic ability. And for people who may have low self-esteem to begin with, feelings of vulnerability in second language learning situations may be particularly intense, and the consequences of anxiety are difficult to predict. However, because anxiety can have facilitative as well as debilitating effects for different individuals. Next, willingness to communicate and second language contact. Willingness to communicate, or WTC, is defined as the self-reported likelihood for a second language learner to want to initiate communication in the second language when given the choice to engage in or to avoid such action. The antecedents of second language WTC are second language communicative confidence, which itself is predicted by anxiety and self-perceived competence, and to a lesser but nevertheless considerable extent by second language attitudes. Such attitudes are shaped by the frequency and quality of past second language contact, but they also help shape willingness to seek and engage in future. Context matter a good deal in understanding the relative importance of WTC antecedents and consequence. Two important areas for pending research are how WTC may be related to actual increases in second language context seeking behaviors and how it can change across time and context. Next is cognitive styles, field independence, and field sensitivity. Cognitive or learning styles are ways in which individuals prefer to put their general cognitive abilities to use. They are neither good nor bad, but simply bipolar dimensions with potential strengths and weaknesses on both extremes. A cognitive styles investigated in SLA is field independence. Individuals who are high on the field independence pole of this construct may be better at detecting patterns in the second language input, dealing with grammatical rules, and being able to self-monitor during second language production. Individuals who are high on the field independence pole, also called field sensitivity, may be better at learning holistically from input via memorization as well as learning through communication with others.
Okay, I will continue the material. Next is learning style profile. The most promising model of language learning style has been developed by Ehrman and Levers in 2003. It consists of binary continuum, the synopsis, ecstasis, dimensions. Synopsis refers to the preference to the really or holistic, at a glance, perception of information. Synoptic learners thrive with subconscious learning approaches because they are intuitive learners. Ehrman and Levers note that synopsis is related to right hemisphere dominant learners and ecstasis to left hemisphere dominant learners. And there are 6 of the 10 dimensions in the Ehrman and Levers learning style model. First is random sequential. It is how the information is structured, or by internal or semantic and plain criteria. Next is holistic specific. It is the level of attention paid to the detail during the processing. Okay, next is result analytic. It is the level of analysis done on information during processing. And next is global particular. It is the top-down or bottom-up preference in attentional direction while processing new materials. Next is labeling sharpening. Whether a learner prefers to store and recall information in memory by relying on loosely merged episodic memory and looking for commonalities, or by relying on highly detailed and differentiated factual long-term memory encodings. And the last is impulsive reflective. It is at the speed of processing. Okay, the next material is learning strategies. The finding confirm and expand on the previous studies and lead to the generation comprehensive list of learning strategies, classified into 3 categories. This is a cognitive, metacognitive, and socio-affective strategies. This is based on O'Malley and Kemot and at 1990. Strategy inventory for language learning, or SILL, drives the level of strategy frequency report on 5 points Likert scale. 6 types of strategy are proposed in the model. First is affective. For example, if pushing oneself when afraid to talk. The second is social. For example, is practicing language second with others. Next is metacognitive. For example, is having a clear goal of improving one's own skills or paying attention to mistake or itself. And the next is cognitive. It, for example, is guessing for context or writing notes. Next is relate memory. This is linking the sound of word with a mental picture or image. And the last is compensations. This is, for example, is using circumlocution. This classification is basically compatible with 3 types proposed by O'Malley and Kemmott. Like what I said before, there is cognitive, metacognitive, and social affective. Okay, we go to the last material. This is the future promise of an encompassing framework, self-regulation theory. The starting point of self-regulation theory is that human effort is always goal-directed, intentional, full of effort, and voluntary. This is based on the book Kurtz et al. 2006. Focusing on the area of volitional action control, Singh et al. At 2006 have developed the self-regulatory capacity in vocabulary learning scale, or ARC book, an instrument with 26-point Likert scale statements that indicate greater or lesser creative to control one's own actions in vocabulary learning. First is self-regulatory capacity in vocabulary learning scale illustrate. Next is commitment control, is keeping goals in focus. And then next is metacognitive control. This is minimizing procrastinations and distractions and maximizing concentrations. Okay, next point is satiation control, avoiding boredom or impatience and enhancing interest. Next is emotion control, overcoming negative moods and affirming emotional stability. For the last is environmental control. This is eliminating environment elements and maximizing positive ones. Okay, it certainly is a welcome change of directions in social psychologically oriented SLA research, in that the self-regulatory approach allows for the combined study of motivations and strategic behaviors and of cognitions and affect, and under a single theoretical framework.